climate challenge is a global challenge for us, for our families, for governments, for the world. Governments have a huge role to play, but we as individuals can make a genuine difference also. My family and I, in our behaviours, in the way we live our lives, try to do small but important things that have an impact on the climate. We try not to use too much water. We don't use plastics whenever we can. We use reusable shopping bags. We don't buy plastic bottles of water or drinks. We use public transport wherever we can, or we walk or cycle. We catch the train rather than flying for longer distance travel if we can. As a family, we don't eat meat because livestock is a major contributor to global warming, to emissions. We try to use organic food and use organic products to clean the house. We encourage other people to do the same thing. These are small things, but in their own way, they make a huge difference. And if we all did it, if we all work together, we can combat global warming together. In November this year, the United Kingdom will be hosting the 26th Conference of the Parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which everyone calls COP26. That event takes place 5 years after Uzbekistan and 188 other countries signed the Paris Agreement, in which the nations of the world came together to attempt to limit global warming to a maximum of 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It's a crucial event, it's a huge event. We will see heads of state, heads of government, we'll see business people, we'll see scientists and academic experts, we'll have civil society activists, we'll have old people, we'll have young people, and of course the media. In Glasgow, we want to focus on 5 key areas for climate change. First of all, adaptation and resilience, how we help vulnerable countries to change and to cope with the inevitable effects of climate change. We want to focus on energy, on changing from fossil fuels towards cleaner sources of energy, solar, wind, tidal, hydro energy. In that context, we also want to talk about transport, changing the way that we use our own personal vehicles, but also public transport, also aviation and shipping, to cleaner, greener ways of moving around the planet. We want to focus on nature and biodiversity, which have a huge impact also on our ability to cope with climate change. And finally, but not least, we want to focus on finance, on the huge sums of money that are needed to adapt and to cope with the impacts of climate change. We, as chairs of the conference, will be demanding huge ambitions of the nations of the world and of ourselves in the way that we deal with climate change. Because without a successful conference, we will fail and we will let down the planet.
Assalamu alaikum. The earth is on fire. The climate change and its consequences are endangering the planet and our survival on the planet. It is a result of 150 years and more of extreme emissions of gas into the change, and its implications consequences are endangering the planet and our own survival on the planet. It is a result of 150 years and more of extreme emissions of gas into the atmosphere. Every country in the world is feeling the impact of the climate change, including in Central Asia. And we feel it in less water, in glaciers being melted, more droughts and impacts on our everyday life. Urgent actions are needed, therefore, to stop the climate change. And we need to act on all fronts are needed to stop the climate change and to keep the temperature of the planet at the safe level and to keep the warming below the 2 Celsius degrees. Urgent actions are therefore needed to curb the climate change. We need to keep the temperature at the acceptable level and below the 2 Celsius degrees rise. Around the world, many actions are being taken. Actions against the climate change are a business of everyone. It is about the governments to adapt the policies, to put in place incentives that will incentivize the people, the economy, to act in a different way and to fight against the climate change is a business of everyone. It is about the governments to adopt the policies and enforce implement the policies that will reduce the emissions, but also that will rebalance the relation of the economy with the nature. It is also about the civil society to demand from the governments to adopt more ambitious plans and more ambitious policies, but also to keep the governments accountable for their implementation. The youth has a different and a particularly important stake into the discussion about the climate change. It is about their future, it is about the future of our planet. And ultimately, it's business of everyone. Climate change is business of everyone. It is every country, every community, and every individual has a stake about it and has a role to play. We individuals, we make choices every day. Every action that we do, whether I print a paper, whether I climb, whether I walk or I take a car, that has an implication to the climate and to our planet. Therefore, we all have a responsibility to act and to protect our planet. I call all of you to join us and to act for the future and for our planet. Rahmat.
Iqlim o'zgarishi Markaziy Osiyo daryolarini oziqlantiradigan muzliklarga katta ta'sir ko'rsatadi. Muzliklarni erishga sabab bo'lgan global isish toza suv, gidroenergetikaga katta ta'sirini ko'rsatadi.
Odamlar iqlimni o'zgartiradilar, bu ilmiy haqiqat. Iqlim o'zgarishi bizning sivilizatsiyamizning rivojlantirishi uchun sharoitlarni buzadi. Inson faoliyati tufayli iqlimning o'zgarishiga bir necha sabablar bor. Misol uchun, elektr stansiyalar yoqilishi, neft, ko'mir va gaz yoqilishi va o'rmonlarning maydoni qisqartirilishi, shu jumladan yong'inlar tufayli maydoni qisqartiriladi va boshqa sabablar.